What's up, Packer fans? Back again. Tomorrow is the day. Packers versus Bears. 205th meeting between the two teams. The longest rivalry in the NFL. It dates back to like the 1920s, which is pretty impressive if you think about it. These two teams have had, back in the old days, it was a really crazy rivalry because there wasn't a whole lot going on. There was, not a lot of teams in the NFL. These were two of the main teams. Chicago was obviously a major city. Little tiny Green Bay was obviously a tiny town way up in the north. And the Packers did really well, obviously. The most championships in team history for any team with 13 overall titles, I guess you could say. But since the Super Bowl era, it has not been the same success for the Packers. They only have 4 Super Bowls, which means they won 9 of those titles before the Super Bowl era. The Bears also have a bunch of titles they won before the Super Bowl era. They only have won 1985 since then. But in the last 30 years, like I was talking about, the Packers and the Bears have really had a kind of a dynamic rivalry with, different players, Urlacher and Favre and Rodgers and, even Jay Cutler, if you want to throw him in there, led them to an NFC championship game. But, I guess Rex Grossman back in 2005 led the Bears to a Super Bowl. But for the most part, the Packers have bested the Bears in this overall wins-loss battle. The Packers have since bested the Bears. They are now 103-95 in the win-loss category. Since Aaron Rodgers has taken over, they were not ahead when Rodgers took over as quarterback, and now has since pushed them past them by 8 games. Rodgers is 22-5 against them, so of course the record has changed a lot. But we all know Brett Favre was a huge proponent in the fact that the Packers were able to chew into some of those games, and now, kind of set it almost even by the time he retired. Rodgers was able to come in and finish doing what Brett Favre had started. Now, entering the 205th meeting between these two teams, it is a whole new season, 2022. The Bears are coming off a victory. They are 1-0. Justin Fields played well in the second half, 2 touchdowns. The running game looked really good with David Montgomery and Khalil Herbert. Both of those guys can really run the ball and catch the ball to the backfield. I think Herbert had more yards, but Montgomery had more carries. Both of them are effective. Herbert had like a 5-yard average. He's a guy that the Packers defense is really going to have to corral. But their offensive line up front isn't great. Their weapons on the outside aren't great. They do have some playmakers. They do, like Darnell Mooney. We know what Equanimeous St. Brown can do. He's just a taller, faster guy. But where this Bears team usually has been historically good or great, depending on what year you want to go back to. But we all know it's the defense. The Bears defense is what they base everything off of, going back to Buck Kiss and, Singletary in the 80s and then Urlacher. So now they have Roquan Smith, who is also a guy who can go sideline to sideline. They have Eddie Jackson on the back end, who is really a true ball-hawking safety. And then they do have Jalen Johnson, cornerback, decent players on the outside. So there are guys on this Bears team that can make plays. Overall, I think the Packers have a better team top to bottom. Roster is stacked better. But it comes down to scheme. This is a whole new coach the Bears have. He's a defensive coach. Eberflus, he is, a little bit of a different system than the Packers are used to. Just like last week against the Vikings, they had a whole new offensive system with Kevin O'Connell, head coach. So the keys of the game are going to be make sure Fields does not get away. That's pretty much number one for this defense. Keep an eye on Fields. Know where he is at all times. Know when he's rolling left, when he's rolling right. Have a guy maybe spying him. You may have to use different guys spying him. I know in the zone scheme, it may not allow for one guy to be the spy the whole time, but they're going to hopefully orchestrate something where a spy is on the field at most of the times or most of the plays where they think maybe a scramble could occur. You're hoping to put pressure on them, keep them in the pocket, make him throw quick and not let him extend the plays, get running around. And, if he's trying to make it look like he's going to throw, scrambling around, the defenders have their back to the quarterback or whatever, trying to cover their guy. I mean, in the zone scheme, they don't do it as much, but defenders still get turned around. And then Justin Fields takes advantage of that, and he's running down the field. And he is fast. He really is. So he's a guy that the Packers are just going to have to focus on from the beginning of the game to the end of the game. Make sure that you just make them really uncomfortable. Obviously, it's tough to watch that Bears 49ers game and come away with any kind of perception on what kind of team this Bears team is, just because of the weather. It was really nasty in Chicago, the rain, the standing water. The second half got a little better. It seemed like Fields got things figured out, but I don't know if it was just a product of the 49ers really struggling a lot in that environment, if Trey Lance just, had a really tough day, or if the Bears actually are better than people projected. Packers are going to find that out at Lambeau. I kind of looked at the weather. It looks like it might be a chance of rain, but isn't it always a chance of rain? So we will see. Otherwise, I think for the most part, should be good weather. Packers should have no excuses for having a dynamic night on offense and being able to stop them on defense. A lot of questions about the zone scheme when it comes to why Joe Barry ran the zone scheme. This is going to be a huge key to the Packers' night against the Bears. Communication is what really was the biggest issue. As guys are crossing through different zones, players have to know when it's their time to stop chasing that guy and let another guy pick him up in that zone. That's where the communication comes in. Guys feel like they're supposed to keep chasing. They run out of their zones. Other guys are crossing back into others. I mean, it's just a lot of confusion when it comes to whose guy is who and where guys should be. I think they get a lot of that cleaned up this week. But I'm not saying Darnell Mooney is Justin Jefferson, but he does have a very similar skill set. He's quick. He's shifty. He can, good at the point of the catch, and he's a guy that can go out and get you 10 catches over 100 yards. He is a guy that can do that. So Packers really have to focus. They have to be on top of their game. They have to really work together as a unit. They were talking a lot of smack in the offseason about being a number one team or number one defense in the league. So I think that for them, it's all about just communicating and making sure everybody's doing their job. Up front, we all saw it. Kenny Clark looked to be the most dominant player on the field, and it looked like he probably had the best game out of anybody that played in a Green Bay jersey on Sunday last weekend. So for the Packers on defense up front, they just have to continue to put pressure on, try to keep Justin Fields in front of them, try to keep these running backs in front of them. Don't let anybody get away. Obviously, plays are going to be made. It's limiting the big plays. Like Joe Barry said, they had 6 or 7 that in the Vikings game that he would have liked back. Well, that's probably 5 or 6 too many. Obviously, we know that big plays do happen, but it's just limiting those and figuring out a way to have more big plays on your side of the ball when you're on offense than the other team does when they're on offense. Packers failed to do that against the Vikings. But like I said again, this should be a bounce-back game for this Packers team. Limit the explosive plays on the offensive side. Corral, Justin Fields. Then the Packers, when they do have a chance to have the ball, they really have to run the ball more. I saw some stats where people were saying they want like 30-plus carries. That's a lot of carries for these running backs. Like I said yesterday, that's almost half the touches for the whole game or half the snaps for the whole game. They average about 70 a game or so. So you're looking at more of 30 touches total with receptions and running the ball. But that, I think, is doable. That is something I think would be a key to the Packers' victory, getting the ball in Aaron Jones and A.J. Dillon's hand much, much more. Both of these guys are dynamic in their own different ways, running the ball. Dillon's just a powerhouse, hard to tackle. once he gets into the secondary, these guys are a lot smaller than him. Makes it hard for them to bring him down. And Aaron Jones is just so shifty, really uses his blockers well, runs down the field, catches the ball so easily, effortlessly. And I just like what they both bring to the table. So we really have to get them the ball more. That's going to be a key to the game. Settle down this offensive line. Allow these running backs to get going. That'll give the guys on the outside less pressure and allow Aaron Rodgers to open up some play action, get these guys open the middle on some crossers and maybe some other routes. Just not put so much pressure on these young guys early on in the game. Like I said, that Watson pass was kind of a little bit extra just for the first play of the season. That is a lot of pressure for a kid, especially when you hype him up all week about it. Now he knows you're coming to him, and, that's a lot of pressure for a young guy. Obviously, he should make that catch. He's supposed to make that catch. They get paid too many millions of dollars to make that catch, but we all understand the concept of just how big the moment was. And, it's better to happen week 1 than happen in the Super Bowl, so we'll let it slide week 1. Just bounce back this week, have a big catch, and everybody will forget about it. We'll all move forward. So run the ball, run the ball, run the ball. I think get, Dillon and Jones going early and often. This Bears defense doesn't have the same Akeem Hicks like it used to, and so there's just, Roquan's really good. Get a hat on him for sure, and see what you guys can do up front. I really think Elkin Jenkins is going to play. He was a full participant for the first time, and he's a guy that he wants to be out there, and I think it's going to be Elkin Jenkins at right tackle. Still waiting for the exact word on him. Still waiting for the exact word on Allen Lazard. I think Allen Lazard is also going to be a full go on Sunday night. Both of those guys should be ready to rock. John Runyan Jr. also, the left guard, he was a participant. I think he should be ready after his concussion protocol. I think he'll be ready to go. And then finally, David Bakhtiari is the last guy really. Still don't know about him, but he was in team drills. He did work out in a limited fashion. So progress there. Even if he doesn't play, there's progress there. I think Bakhtiari will be back sooner than later. But there is hope that he plays. They are all questionable, which means they're upgraded from last week, which was doubtful. And I think it is really promising for at least Jenkins and Allen Lazard. Having a wide receiver 1 back for Rodgers is going to be huge. A guy he trusts. Just another guy out there that he trusts, along with Cobb and Tanyan. Then you mix in some of the young guys. But it's a good mix of everything and a lot of young talent. We'll see what these guys can do. Really excited about this offense as a whole. Once guys kind of get on the same page, once this offensive line gets all the way healthy, you can have 2 all-pros on each side of, on each tackle, and left side and right side with Bakhtiari and Jenkins. And then you can have really solid guys up front in the middle, just kind of keeping everybody at bay. With those 2 solid guys on the outside, it just helps everything else so much in other areas because other guys can double team. You don't need to waste time chipping. It's just certain things that really help an offense when you have guys that are so good at their jobs. So thing is, though, we got to really corral Justin Fields and these running backs. David Montgomery has been a beast the last 3 seasons. He scored 24 times. That's tops in the league for sure. He's just a guy that he's big, 225 pounds. He runs good, runs strong. He's going to want to win against the Packers. I don't think he has in his I think this is, it's his 3rd season. So LaFleur started 3 seasons ago. He has never beat the Packers. He's going to want to get a game against them. But overall, I think the Packers do keep Justin Fields at bay for the most part. I still think there's going to be some communication issues on the back end. I don't think they're going to have them all cleaned up yet, but I think the Packers' offense is going to play a lot better. They're going to score when they have the opportunity to. They basically left 3 touchdowns out on the field last weekend, and that would have won the game if they added that to the score they had. But for the most part, they're going to stop Fields. This offense is going to get rolling. They're going to run the ball. I think they're going to listen to what everybody's been saying. They need the ball in Jones and Dillon's hand more. And this defense, like I said, is going to play good enough on the back end. And I think they get some pressure up front. I think they get a sack. I think they might get a sack, fumble. or a couple sacks at least. I'm calling Rashawn Gary gets a sack because Fields runs around too much, not to get sacked. So I really feel that there's going to be a few at least, and Rashawn Gary is going to be somebody who is able to kind of reap the benefits of that, the way that Fields plays. And hopefully Kenny Clark, he just looks so good up in the middle. I think he gets up home at least once as well. But it's going to be interesting to see how they play Fields when he decides to scramble around and when he decides to run. Do you have Quay Walker on him as a spy? Do you use Campbell on him as a spy? What do the Packers do? And how do they clean up the issues on the back end? Like I said, it could be another Minnesota game where we just really struggle on the back end, and we don't want that. We want to see them kind of figure it out, take some steps forward. They were chattering a lot about being number one, so hopefully they can turn it around this time. And I think it's a really good team to actually make the leap to become a more elite defense. So Packer prediction for the Packers versus Bears Sunday Night Football game at Lambeau. I'm guessing 34-17. Packers win, go to 7-0 in LaFleur's career against the Chicago Bears. Rodgers throws 2 touchdowns, one to Watkins and one to Lazard. It may be Tanyan, though, as a guy to alternate with those guys. I think he's gonna stick with some of the guys he trusts, especially down in the red zone. He doesn't want to have a guy run the wrong route and throw a pick, so he's gonna stick with guys he trusts down there. Could be Tanyan and Lazard, or it could be Watkins and Lazard, or Watkins and Tanyan, something along those lines. But I also think that A.J. Dillon scores at least 1 touchdown, and probably running the ball, and then Aaron Jones gets a touchdown running the ball as well. They'll both end up in the end zone. So, and then obviously that's 28 points with 4 touchdowns. So then you're going to need 2 field goals from Mason Crosby. Unless they scored 5 touchdowns and missed the extra point, which is almost more probable than Crosby making 2 field goals and all the extra points. So if that happened, then I'd say maybe Rodgers throws another touchdown, but maybe that one will be Titanian. So either way, it'll be 34-17, however they get there, but something along those lines. Rodgers does get his first touchdown pass of the 2022 NFL season, and some of these guys bounce back from kind of a tough first week in Minnesota. But all right, guys, Packers-Bears week. I can't wait. Hope you guys are excited. It's going to be really a fun time. Sunday Night Football, that's always intense. You got to wait all day, watch all the other games, see all the other action, and then finally it's Sunday Night Football time. So hope you guys are excited too. I can't wait. We got, a few games here on college football Saturday. Get us through the day. As soon as we know it, it'll be noon kickoff for NFL. And then once that starts, it's almost Packer time. So, all right, guys, thanks for watching. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe to the channel. Check out other videos. And go Packers. Go Pack, go. Beat the Bears. The Bears still suck. And peace out. Thank you guys for watching, and check you out in the next ones. Later.